What's up, people? Let's make some chill lo-fi. So step one of making a chill beat is going to be finding the right BPM. I have 72 for this one. Anywhere between like 65 to 80 is probably a good choice. And what I usually like to start with are some chords. And so I have this Stage 73, which is kind of like a Rhodes type piano. And I'm just going to put down some chords to start with here. So this is pretty typical of that Lofi Girl style, using these kind of jazzy extended chords. And by extended, I basically mean using chords that are, more than just the triad. So this would be the C major triad, and then we're adding the 7th note. So that would be a C major 7. And then personal preference for me, I like to kind of arpeggiate the chords so they're not just a block chord. So it adds a little bit of movement. So we go from that C major 7 down to the B minor 7, back up to the C major 7. And this is also a B minor 7 chord. It's just an inversion, which basically means taking one of these notes and moving it. So I took this A here, moved it down an octave. So same note, just a little bit different flavor. And this one, I'm not 100% sure. It seems like an E minor chord. It has most of the notes that you find in an extended E minor chord. I just made everything really close together here, so there's a lot of tension, which when you think of a chill beat, you don't usually want tension. But it actually works really well in terms of resolving back to that major chord at the beginning of the loop. So don't be afraid to, have a little bit of tension, because that tension and release is actually a really nice thing to have when you're creating your loop. Then I have my typical piano processing on here. So I have this velocity effect from Ableton to just make it a little more mellow. I have a little bit of saturation on here. EQ cutting off all of the lows and the highs. Just a slight amount of compression. I have another compressor that is going to sidechain it to my kick. And a decent amount of vintage verb put right on the channel. And like I've said before, I like to put my reverb right on the channel when it's more of an ambient style beat, just because it helps things become a little more washed out, and it helps things like pianos sustain a little bit better. Okay, next I'm going to layer those chords with a pad. Super important in this style of music, if you want to create that kind of nice ambient soundscape, is to layer your original piano chords with at least one or maybe two different types of pads in the background. Something kind of like this. That's just very kind of light, airy, spacious. And so I'm just going to go ahead and take these same chords, hold control, drag them down, and then I'm going to get rid of all the passing notes in here and just drag them out so it's one long block chord. And one other thing I like to do when I'm layering my piano chords is to take some of these middle notes like this and just hold shift and up and move them up an octave, just to kind of spread these chords out and give them a little bit different voicing than the piano. And pretty much the same processing on that pad as I did on the piano. The only thing I'm doing differently is putting the reverb up to 100%, just because this really is supposed to be more of a soundscape. It's not a melody, so I just want it kind of washed out in the background. And just to make this pad a little more interesting and give it a little bit more movement, I'm going to automate this brightness parameter, which is kind of like a filter on this preset. So what I'm going to do is I actually have a MIDI keyboard that has some knobs that I can assign and use to record in my automation. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this button, which is kind of like the automation arm, and make sure your track is armed. I don't remember if you have to have the plus checked or not. Let's see. If I hit record, and oh yeah, we need that. All right. Okay, so if I hit A just to open that up, we can see this looks crazy because it picked up like every little motion I did with the knob. So if you want to take all of this information and make it a little bit easier to manipulate, you can just select it all like that and go to Simplify Envelope, and that'll make it a lot more manageable. So a lot less dots, and you can just kind of mess around with it this way if you want to fix it a little bit afterwards. And then I just have these grouped together, a little bit of that glue compression and some RC20 to make them a little more vintage. I'm going to pull that pad way down. Next, I'm just going to add like a really simple melody. I'm going to use this Hollowbody Blues guitar, really, really good VST if you don't have a guitar or maybe you don't know how to play guitar. So I'm going to go ahead and just put down a simple melody with this one. Okay, so pretty simple. I mean, the whole point of these chill beats is to kind of, one song flows into the other. So you don't want to do anything that's like super crazy or intricate because it's not really going to be, that Lofi Girl chill study vibe at that point. And then processing on that guitar, just a little bit of EQ, cutting those highs and lows. RC20 right on the channel here to give it a little bit of wobble. Compression, and some Valhalla Vintage Verb. All right, next I just want to grab kind of an ambient vocal. As stereotypical as arcade is, it's just a really easy place to find some nice ambient vocals, especially for this type of music. So I just found this one. Okay, so I went ahead and took that vocal loop from arcade and just rendered it out to audio by resampling it. And I just kind of chopped it up, and I think I reversed this section of it, and this is what it sounds like now. And next I just grabbed just a one shot of a bass guitar from Splice and put it into Ableton Simpler, changed it to one shot, and then I came here. Always want to make sure that your one shots are tuned. So usually it'll tell you what note it is. So this one says it's an A. So when you hit middle C on your keyboard, it should show A, which it did. And so this one, I just transposed it. I took it up 3 semitones. So it was at the C and it was still a little off. So I took it down 10 cents. So it's about C when you hit middle C on the keyboard. And then if you want to be able to make it sound a little more realistic, come down here, turn this glide on, and then about 50 milliseconds was fine for this one. So it kind of glides up to that note almost like a slide. So I kind of talked about this in one of my previous videos about using your bass as kind of another melodic instrument. So that's kind of what I did here. I like to pick notes. These green lines are the bass notes, and these are just my piano chords in the pink. And I just like to pick notes in the chord just to kind of accentuate them rather than just following the root notes, because that's kind of boring. All right, drums. So kick, pretty simple pattern. And I mean, you can take pretty much any kick you want. I wouldn't take like a super like EDM kick, but most kicks you'll find on Splice without any processing, they're going to sound like this. Basically, all you need to do is put this low pass on there. And you can get that nice kind of heartbeat effect, which is what a lot of these songs have. And I thought it would be fun to like make my own snare. So a lot of the snares you'll hear in that Lofi Girl style are kind of like this organic, like crunchy wood sounding thing. It doesn't sound like a snare drum. So basically I just found 3 different samples And basically what I've done is I just went through and processed these all slightly different. So I cut out basically all of the lows, some of the highs in this one, and just a little bit of both in this one. It's all kind of up to your taste. And then basically what I did was I just have these all layered up the way I want them, arm another audio track, set it to resampling, and then hit record. And now we have our own personal organic snare that no one else has, and that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and just layer that in with the kick. Just added some reverb on ascend to make that a little more ambient, and then a little bit of EQ on that as well. Sounds pretty good. And I figured since we were doing the more like organic style lo-fi here, I figured I would do a shaker rather than some hi-hats. And then just to add a little more Foley to this, I found this sample off of Splice. And basically took this section of it and kind of chopped it, reversed some of it. So with all the drums together, it sounds like this. And I think that's a pretty good amount for this loop, so I'll go ahead and arrange it and show you guys the final beat. Starting with just those piano chords, the pad, shaker, and some nice rain that I found the sample of. And that automation on the pad just gives it so much life. Just a little transition there into the main hook. Drop out all of the main melody and the vocals. And then right here I decided to add another kind of little lead melody with the Rhodes piano. Drop pretty much everything out. And then back into that main hook one more time. Gonna do it for this one. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, subscribe. It means a lot to me. Really trying to grow this channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.